Okay, I get this question asked a lot. I get them asked by customers and people that have worked for me in the past. The question usually is, why do I glue my joints? Because when you caulk after it's painted, doesn't the caulking satisfy that need? And the answer is always absolutely not. You need to pay attention to your joints in such a way that they won't open up down the road. On coffered ceilings like this ceiling, now this happens to be my own house. So I'm videoing this. This has been up for, several years. I don't know, maybe 6-7 years. And it's just as tight as it was the day I put it in, after I put it in. It didn't take a day to do this, but what I wanted to show you was the corners. All the corners are completely crack-free. And this is something that is really important to me, especially when you're talking about paint grade moldings. Stain grade moldings are a little bit different, but you still, in my opinion, you should always glue your joints, regardless of if it's stain grade or paint grade. So if you are wondering, why would I want to put glue on my joints? Because it is a lot of extra work. This is why you should do it. Do you notice those joints, how tight and clean they are? There's no splitting, there's nothing. And no caulking is going to hold that joint from splitting out. So if you have people putting up your molding, I see this time and time again, where people will actually tell their customers, oh yeah, I glue the joints, and then I go and I'll take the molding off because we're putting in a coffered ceiling. And I show people, I said, your contractor that did this did not glue their joints. It happens all the time, but it's very important. I'm going to show you what happens if you don't glue your joints. And I'm going to show it to you because I noticed this when I put this particular wainscoting in, and I remember it happening. I did the entire room and it was all going great. And when I got to this corner, I did what I don't want to ever do, and I forgot to put glue on that joint. Now, it just recently opened up, and here's the issue. I have to now go back and I have to caulk this guy. And I never like to caulk anything after it's been painted. But this is what happens if you do not glue your joints. Do you see that? Okay, that's probably one of the worst openings that I've encountered. And it's one of those things where things happen. Sometimes either for whatever reason, this guy was scribed into that one, meaning that when I put this in, I shaped this piece to fit up against here. So I scribed this guy, right? And what happens sometimes is that you get into a hurry, or for whatever reason, you just forget, or you run out of glue. Whatever happens, I forgot to put glue on that bottom part of the paneling and base. So, and it's, it can happen to anybody, but it stinks because this is in my own home. So now I have to face the music. So I thought I would make a video. And as much as I take pride in all this stuff, I mean, you can see the kind of work that I do. Look, that dust just builds up in the corners there. This is one thing about beautiful molding. You have to dust it. If you don't dust it, the dust will just build up. And so every now and again, you got to go around with a vacuum with a brush attachment and just clean it. Don't take a wet sponge or anything like that, because that's just going to make mud. Like, just dust it with a vacuum, and that's going to be your best bet. But these joints, everything in here, all this paneling, this has all been glued to. So nothing is floating. All this is completely glued, and you can tell. Look at these. There is nothing on these panels. There's no cracking. There's nothing at all. Look all the way down, and all you see are tight joints, except for this one area. I'm telling you right now, it drives me crazy. So whether it's, you know, all this stuff, the same thing goes. All this has to be glued. So all these moldings were glued. This is all wood here. So nothing's, what do you call it? There's no drywall on here, right? It's all covered, and it's entirely glued. Yeah, just something to think about. And moving over here, same thing goes. I mean, I feel like you always want to give your customers the best. And I just, time and time again, I see joints opening up, and it pains me to see this, you know? It doesn't take much to have cracks appear in your molding. So this isn't a coffered ceiling, this is just regular crown. And again, same tight joints all the way around. Okay, this is an example of what happens if you don't glue your joints. In this particular joint, I put these up, this molding up, and I was working by myself, unfortunately, and I got to this point, and I completely, you know, just took for granted that it was going to be okay, even though I knew it wasn't going to be okay, because it was a very tight spring joint, and I couldn't get the joint apart. So I said, forget about it, it'll be fine. Well, every single time it gets dry out, that joint shrinks and cracks. I've put caulk in it a couple of times, and it still shrinks and cracks. And so this is just one of those things. Just put glue in. It saves the entire job. So if you're trying to think about what I should do, when in doubt, put glue in. Always put glue in, I should say. Not when in doubt, but just always put glue in your joints.